Hello and welcome to another episode of Dr. Confidential. This is the place where we break down the science, we give you the inside scoop on everything medicine and health related. We teach you how to save yourself. So if you like this episode, make sure you like and subscribe below. And today we're going to get into it, the third F of the 3F morning.
I know we've all been waiting for this one.
Yeah.
So very excited.
So we've already talked about the other two F's.
Yes.
So basically you wake up in the morning and you want to be 12 hours or more fasted. Because our bodies run on circadian rhythms. We have improvements in blood sugar, in weight management, in mood, you name it, it gets better if you give your body a break from food. So 12-hour fast. The fast is the first one, so fast 12 hours. The second F that we talked about is fitness. That's kind of our, I think both of our favorite things to do.
Yeah, that was a fun one to talk about.
Yeah, I love fitness. It's such an active thing that you can do for your health. But this next F is actually very active as well. Something that is something maybe not as common as fitness or even fasting, but we talked about how it's basically a probiotic promise by changing the way your gut sees food. So the third F is fermented fibrous food. So really three F's in one, but the fermented part is really important because most of us don't have enough gut bacteria and we would benefit from adding more. And when you eat a food that is fermented or probiotic, and we'll talk about the differences here, such as yogurt, kimchi, probiotic cottage cheese, we actually get beneficial bacteria into our gut. And this has benefits for our mood, for our cognition, for inflammation and long-term health. So you really do want to be getting probiotic foods, and a lot of us don't get any at all.
No.
Yeah, so I think it's such an interesting topic because I think it's something that most people don't actually do automatically, but they should.
Yeah, not many people realize that you can integrate it into really any meal throughout your day, especially breakfast. Like personally for me, I love to scramble my eggs with cottage cheese. And it makes it seem cheesy, but it's much more healthier than like the alternative.
Yeah, that's a great one. Cottage cheese is really having a moment right now. You could do
it is.
anything. Cottage cheese,
On
nacho
top of the
cheese
world.
sauce. Yeah, it's you know how cauliflower was like the vegetable? Right now, cottage cheese is having a moment. And some people love it, some people hate it. If you hate it, you can blend it and it becomes really creamy. It is delicious. And the probiotic versions in America would be like Nancy's or Good Culture. They actually have probiotic cultures, and so it would count as your fermented food in the morning. If you're not having cottage cheese, you could have yogurt. You could even do raw apple cider vinegar and water. That's actually, works as a probiotic.
Yeah, I know a few of your consult clients actually started doing that, right? You kind of recommended that to them, and they've been loving that.
Yeah, so, one of the things I do when I meet with someone for a wellness consult is I find out what they're eating all day long. And what I find out over and over and over again is that there's not enough fiber, not enough protein, and likely zero or very few fermented foods throughout the week. And so those are the three things I really, really hone in on. And that's why if you do the 3F morning, you kind of get that out of the way. You're having a high protein, fiber filled, and fermented food breakfast. It's the key.
Yeah, so what are those benefits that you do get from the fermented foods or the probiotic foods?
Yeah, so probiotic foods, first of all, what probiotic means is that they actually contain bacteria in it. So things that have bacteria in it, they travel best to our bodies in the matrix of food. So probiotic food is much better for you than probiotic pills because of the way it kind of incorporates into our gut. When it gets to your gut, it joins this army of other bacteria that help us make decisions about food, help us make decisions about our mood, about cravings. It is kind of the bacteria that help you live a better life, live in your gut, and you are supporting that by eating fermented food. So I would highly recommend that if someone's trying to improve their mood, their body composition, they're trying to get their blood sugar down, they're trying to age slower, add probiotic foods to your life and see how that changes things.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably turned off by the word bacteria, but there's actually a lot of beneficial bacteria, and you would be surprised at how much they help us.
I think bacteria have such a bad connotation, especially during COVID years. We were kind of trying to get rid of all germs, and that kind of fell under that. But this organism that's living inside of us is literally, there's just as many of them. Their cells are our cells, and their genetic composition is far greater than our genetic composition. So we have to understand that we're not just ourselves. We are this like healthy bacterial being inside. And so we want to support that. And we know that 50% or more of our bacterial species have been lost over the years. And so we want to do a good job of adding it back. It can be as fun as drinking kombucha. It can be, having a spoon of sauerkraut. That's something that I put on social media that my kids have started to do. Just a quick spoon of sauerkraut, it's like better than any gummy vitamin that you could give them in the morning.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so fermented foods, this is part of the 3F morning. If you hit all 3 Fs, you have set yourself up for a great, healthy day, even if you do nothing else. So basically, you eat the fermented food. It should have fiber in it, high protein. So just like a scramble, like you mentioned, a cottage cheese egg scramble, perfect, with veggies on the side, Or you could do a yogurt with berries, that would be fine. Then you could do, if you do something like a protein shake, maybe you have it with some apple cider vinegar and water, or you have a spoon of sauerkraut or something like that, kombucha later in the day. These are all ways that you can improve your gut bacteria. In fact, a study looked at what was more important in gut bacterial diversity. Was it the fiber or was it the fermented food? And they found that the fermented food was even more important in gut bacterial diversity. And the more fermented food you ate in a day, the better your gut bacteria diversity is. And gut bacterial diversity is probably the biggest marker of good gut health. So I think there's so much out there, and you coined it. I mean, there's just a promise out there, a probiotic promise, this world out there that comes from making your gut bacteria stronger.
And so there is a difference though, right, between fermented and probiotic?
Yes. So fermented doesn't always mean it's probiotic.
Okay.
This is super disappointing to me as an Indian background. There's a lot of food in Indian culture that is fermented, but then it's, you basically heat it or don't keep the bacteria alive in it.
Right.
For example, beer, before it's processed, is fermented, and wine is too, but that doesn't make it probiotic, unfortunately.
Right. Unfortunately.
So you can have fermented food, but many fermented foods are probiotic. So I think there's a big group of foods you can eat now. I mean, there used to be nothing we could find in the grocery store, but now almost everyone has something accessible to them. And if they don't, you can make something accessible to yourself by ordering it or making it at home. There's actually like really great kombucha cultures that you can buy the first one and then you can just keep making it at home. I think that also, just like exercise, I think eating fermented food gives you something to do instead of not do, which is the harder part, like not eating the junk food, not eating the sugar and the processed food. That's so hard. But if you start to add, to do things, you end up not doing those other things as much anymore.
Right.
So that's why I think that can be really, really important. So fermented fibrous food. So if you're thinking about how much fermented food you should eat a day, 1 spoon of sauerkraut, 1 spoon of kimchi, 1 serving of probiotic cottage cheese, 1 serving of yogurt. If you can do multiple of those, great, but starting with 1 is a great start.
And you'll really feel the benefits too. Like you'll be able to notice the difference.
I mean,
just
everyone,
switching that up.
everyone who I've talked to who has done this feels so much better after doing it. And sometimes we're not sure whether it's the fasting, whether it's the exercise or the fermented food, but just the fermented food alone seems to help a lot of people.
Great impact.
Yeah, big impact. So if there's one thing you can do today is pick up something that is fermented or probiotic, like a probiotic cottage cheese, a probiotic yogurt. Maybe have a glass of water and put a spoon of raw apple cider vinegar. You want the one with the mother, the raw apple cider vinegar. Or have a spoon of one of those age-old fermented foods. And even pickles, if they're not in a jar on the shelf, which they typically are, they could be probiotic. So you have to look in the store in a special section. But most of the foods that are probiotic, they will say that on the label, so you'll have to look for that.
In the ingredient list, right? It'll
Exactly.
kind of be even listed active.
Bacterial cultures in America have to be listed. And so that makes it easy for us who are actually looking for those bacterial cultures. So I hope that helps, guys. I think this is something that you can easily do for yourselves, your children, your spouses, your family, your patients. And then I wanted to end by saying that we're actually starting a gut hormone, brain certification program.
Very exciting.
And whenever you're listening to this, you should go to amymdwellness.com. So amymdwellness.com, and you can find out the newest report on this. But basically what we're planning to do is run a gut brain hormone certification program for 6 weeks, and it's going to be starting in January of 2024. So make sure you stay tuned for that. That is going to be awesome. And we have lots of new gut healthy products coming up soon as well. So keep an eye out for those. And thank you so much for joining us. This is Dr. Confidential.